South Korean President Lee Jae-myung attended the first ever joint commissioning ceremony for the Army, Navy, and Air Force academies, fueling speculation about a possible push for an integrated military academy under his administration. North Korea has opened a major ruling party congress in Pyongyang, where leader Kim Jong-un highlighted economic priorities and leadership reshuffles while laying out policy goals for the next 5 years. As the Russia-Ukraine war nears its 4th year, a new report warns combined casualties could soon reach 2 million, even as renewed diplomatic efforts failed to produce a breakthrough toward peace. We begin with President Lee Jae-myung attending a joint commissioning ceremony to South Korea's military cadets today. There, he delivered a commencement address reaffirming his pledge to integrate the country's 3 service academies. Our Blue House correspondent Song Hee-jin has more.
For the first time in nearly a decade, South Korea's Army, Naval, and Air Force academies held a joint commissioning ceremony on Friday. Standing before 558 graduating cadets, President Lee Jae-myung used his commencement address to underscore the need for greater jointness among the services.
급변하는 현대 안보 환경을 고려한다면 땅과 바다와 하늘 모든 영역에서의 긴밀한 협력과 통합된 작전 수행 능력은 필수입니다. 앞으로는 6회 공군 사관학교를 통합하여 미래 전장을 주도할 국방 인재를 더욱 체계적으로 양성할 것입니다.
Integrating the 3 academies was one of President Lee's campaign pledges aimed at strengthening the military's ability to conduct joint operations. The move is also intended to reduce the concentration of influence among Army Academy graduates, especially after several Korea Military Academy trained officers were found to have played key roles in planning former President Yoon Suk-yeol's short-lived martial law declaration in 2024. The fact that this year's commissioning ceremony was held jointly for the first time since 2017 has fueled expectations that integration efforts could speed up. As Commander-in-Chief, President Lee touched on the importance of building a more advanced, self-reliant military, strengthening capabilities through cutting-edge technologies, and regaining wartime operational control from the United States. He further called on the newly commissioned officers to work to restore public trust, emphasizing that the military exists to serve and protect the people.
군의 지난 과오를 철저히 반성하고 전련하여 오로지 주권자인 국민만 바라보는 진정한 국민의 군대로 거듭납시다.
His remarks come as part of ongoing efforts to rebuild public confidence following the military's deployment to the National Assembly during martial law, when troops were sent to block lawmakers from voting to lift the decree. Song Hee-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in North Korea, the regime's highest decision-making body, the Workers' Party Congress, has opened in Pyongyang. The gathering, last held in 2021, is expected to set economic priorities and policy directions for the next 5 years, while attention is also on whether leader Kim Jong-un will signal a future role for his daughter. An Sung-jin has the details.
North Korea began the 9th Congress of the ruling Workers' Party of Korea on Thursday. According to its state media, the Korean Central News Agency, on Friday, the Congress, the regime's most significant political event, opened in Pyongyang. In his opening address, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said he is filled with optimism and confidence about the future. He said that compared to the situation 5 years ago at the previous party Congress, North Korea had irreversibly consolidated its national status and brought about significant changes in the global political landscape. Kim's speech did not mention the United States, South Korea, or the North's nuclear capabilities, but rather focused on economic issues. Kim stressed that the party is working on boosting economic development and improving people's livelihoods through regional development policies and rural reform programs. A notable change from the previous Congress is a generational shift in the executive body leadership. Most of Kim's close aides have retained prominent positions, but 59% of the executive body have been replaced. Senior figures including Kim Young-chul have been removed, and instead Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee and Defense Minister No Kwang-chol have been added to the executive body. Foreign Minister Choi has been one of the most prominent voices in Pyongyang's redefining of inter-Korean relations as those between two hostile states. Meanwhile, attention is also focused on whether Kim's daughter Kim Joo-ae will be formally designated as his successor. Her appearances at major state events allegedly have been building up her public profile since late last year, potentially hinting at an elevated status.
Of North Korea's political system, which is very similar to a theocracy, leader's gender does not really play a large role because the members are basically deities, not humans. So it is totally up to what Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un is going to decide.
The party Congress may clarify her future status within the regime. The Congress agenda includes reviewing the work of the party's Central Committee, revising party rules, and electing central leadership bodies. Around 5,000 delegates are attending the Congress, with 224 members from the central party bodies and 4,776 representatives elected from regional units. In North Korea, where the ruling party governs all state institutions, the Party Congress is the highest decision-making body and is expected to set domestic and foreign policy directions for the next 5 years. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
U.S. and Chinese forces briefly faced off near the Korean peninsula after U.S. Forces Korea conducted a large-scale air drill over the West Sea. According to military sources on Friday, more than 10 U.S. Forces Korea F-16 fighter jets took off from Osan Air Base in Pyeongtaek on Wednesday and flew over international airspace in the West Sea. As the U.S. jets got close to China's Air Defense Identification Zone, Beijing scrambled fighter aircraft, resulting in a temporary standoff. Neither side entered the other's airspace. USFK notified the South Korean military in advance of the drill, but did not explain its specific purpose. The Defense Ministry said it cannot confirm matters related to USFK operations, adding that allied forces maintain a strong combined defense posture. U.S. President Donald Trump says he will decide within the next 10 days whether to take further action against Iran, raising pressure on Tehran to reach a nuclear agreement and avoid possible military escalation. As talks continue, Israel has also warned of serious consequences if Tehran launches any attack. Lee Seung-jae reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the world will know within the next 10 days whether Washington reaches a deal with Iran or moves toward military action. Speaking at the inaugural meeting of his Board of Peace in Washington on Thursday, Trump said negotiations over Iran's nuclear program are ongoing, but warned that the United States may have to take it a step further if progress stalls.
So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
In recent days, the U.S. has increased its military presence in the Middle East, even as American and Iranian negotiators reported progress during talks in Switzerland. Trump says Special Envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner held what he described as very good meetings with Iranian officials. However, the prospect of military action has sparked political debate in Washington. Democratic lawmakers, along with some Republicans, have voiced opposition to any strike against Iran without congressional approval. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed combat officers in southern Israel, making clear that Israel is closely watching the negotiations. Netanyahu warned that Iran would face what he called an unimaginable response if it attacks Israel.
We are prepared for any scenario. And one thing is certain, if the Ayatollahs make the mistake and attack us, they will experience a response they cannot even imagine.
He reiterated his long-standing position that dismantling Iran's nuclear infrastructure is essential to any lasting agreement. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is scheduled to meet Netanyahu in Israel on February 28th, with Iran expected to top the agenda. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Nearly 4 years after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the war shows little sign of ending. As battles continue along the front lines, diplomatic efforts to secure peace have yet to yield meaningful progress. Chung Hye-rim tells us more.
Before February 2022, 47-year-old mother of two Tetiana Himian was a ballroom dance instructor in the Donetsk region. Her days were filled with international competitions and teaching children. However, she was forced to abandon her career, and today she's a sniper in Ukraine's 78th Air Assault Regiment.
Life goes on. This is our life, and this is our choice, but a choice made within the realities we found ourselves in. We are ordinary people who simply ended up in extraordinary circumstances, but now it feels almost impossible to return to the life we had before.
Not only for Tetiana, but for millions of Ukrainians, there is no going back. Combined casualties for both nations are on track to reach 2 million by this spring, according to a new study by the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The data reveals nearly 1.2 million Russian troops and close to 600,000 Ukrainian troops have been killed, wounded, or are missing. Meanwhile, efforts to end the war through diplomacy continue. Talks between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States aimed at ending the war have ended without a breakthrough, with the latest round in Geneva lasting just 2 hours on Wednesday. Following a halt in U.S. war funding, the Trump administration has launched a diplomatic campaign to force both sides to the table.
Both sides agreed to update their respective leaders and to continue to work towards a peace deal together. So there will be another round of talks in the future, but I think the president views this entire situation as very unfair, not just for Russians and Ukrainians who have lost their lives, but also for the American people and the American taxpayer who were footing the bill for this war effort before.
Washington is reportedly urging Ukraine to consider territorial concessions, including a possible demilitarized zone in the heavily fortified Donetsk region. But Kyiv warns that giving up land without firm security guarantees would allow Moscow time to regroup and launch another invasion. As the war approaches its 4th anniversary, Ukraine's future remains uncertain. With peace talks stalled and fighting ongoing, millions like Tetiana continue to live a reality shaped by war, with no clear return to the past. 정혜림, Arirang News.
Concerns are mounting in Seoul that escalating trade frictions with the U.S., including the threat of tariff hikes and the fallout from South Korea's Kupang probe, are jeopardizing critical security talks. As trade pressures mount, the U.S. has yet to confirm the delegation of officials for those discussions. Oh Seong has more.
Concerns are growing in Seoul that trade issues with the United States are slowing crucial security negotiations. Last November's Korea-US joint fact sheet tied together economic and security tracks, a $350 billion investment into the US, and follow-up talks on nuclear-powered submarines and broader nuclear cooperation, including uranium enrichment and spent fuel reprocessing. Security discussions were expected to begin early this year, with a US delegation to visit Seoul by early March. But President Donald Trump has since threatened to raise reciprocal tariffs on Korean exports from 15% to 25%, pushing Seoul to speed up legislation on implementing US investments. At the same time, tensions have widened to the digital sector, with e-commerce giant Kupang emerging as a flashpoint. Amid a probe into the US company by Korean authorities over its user data leak last year, the US House Judiciary Committee has subpoenaed Kupang Korea's acting head Harold Rogers, with lawmakers accusing Korean authorities of targeted attacks.
So this digital focus is pretty in line, frankly, with the Trump administration's earlier approach to grab a hold of all of these aspects to lean into this America First framing. That's the dynamic that kind of hoists up Trump's overarching trade agenda. And we can see that in this projection of a so-called American company facing discrimination from this foreign power. That's the framing that the Trump administration is leaning into and has far before this Kupang controversy.
Seoul officials say the Kupang issue should be left out of formal government talks. But experts believe the Trump administration will keep raising the issue of non-tariff barriers.
that is something that Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick and all of these different factions are on the same page about. There's an America First sort of covering through all of this that they're perceiving South Korea and their different trade negotiating partners with that is pretty consistent, while they do take pains to reiterate that the final decision is ultimately up to Trump.
With pressure on the trade track, National Security Advisor Wi Song-lak has expressed concern that the repercussions are spreading into the security side. In fact, US State Secretary Marco Rubio told Foreign Minister Cho Hyun that the mood in Washington is not good, appearing to hint that tariff issues must ease before security talks proceed. As of Thursday, the Foreign Ministry says the US has not confirmed members of its security delegation. For now, Seoul has sent a working-level trade team to Washington this week. Internally, the government last week launched a temporary task force to coordinate US investment matters and tariff negotiations as Parliament works to pass the US investment bill by early March. Oh-seong, Arirang News.
Turning to arts and culture, renowned composer Kim Soo-chul is now turning sound into color, unveiling a new artistic language through painting. Our Cho Young-eun takes us inside his latest exhibition.
A vast black and white canvas captures the imagined sounds on distant planets. Sonic Genesis 30 and 31 reveal Kim Soo-chul's surreal universe. In that other dimension, paint flows in every direction, with dark masses like black holes observing intense energy.
It doesn't stop with our world. Looking at the night sky, I grew curious about other planets, what they're like and what they sound like. So I imagined visiting them and I expressed those sounds and feelings.
On textured blue backgrounds, bold red circles burst outward, as if sound itself is vibrating through paints. The Sonic of Blue series layers sweeping blue brushstrokes to express the vitality of nature. His paintings span a spectrum from the sound of buds sprouting to emotions like sorrow and joy, and the metallic tones of distant planets.
I listened to conversations, the sounds of the world, distant sadness and joy, the sounds of dreams, and the living sounds of nature, and I painted the feelings of what I heard.
Nicknamed the Little Giant, Kim has shaped Korea's music scene for nearly half a century, from pop to traditional Korean music or kugak. His curiosity about the roots of Korean sound eventually led to his dedication to Korean music. He served as music director for 1986 Asian Games, the 1988 Summer Olympics, and the 2002 FIFA World Cup, bringing the spirit of Korean sound to global audiences.
We're working to make our traditional sounds more accessible to modern people, to bring Korean traditional music closer to everyday life and popularize it. We will continue modernizing and integrating our traditional sounds into daily life.
Kim continues to redefine artistic expression, now expanding his practice through sound paintings. Kim Soo-chul's Colors of Sound exhibition runs through March at Seoul Art Center. Cho Young-eun, Arirang News.
A new girl duo blending traditional Korean elements with modern music made its debut just a month ago, bringing a fresh new sound to K-pop. Produced by JYP Entertainment, one of Korea's biggest agencies, the group is already drawing global attention. Our culture correspondent Park Gun-woo sat down with them.
Surpassing 10 million views for their debut music video within a month, the fresh new duo dodree is drawing global attention for incorporating traditional Korean elements into their music while weaving traditional dance into their performances to create a lyrical and dreamlike atmosphere.
At first, it might feel unfamiliar or even difficult, but the charm, emotion, and energy of traditional Korean music can go beyond language. By blending it with more familiar genres, we wanted to make it easier for listeners to approach.
The name dodree reflects that mission, as it's a combination of the traditional rhythmic pattern dodree jangdan and the word free, reflecting their ambition to transcend genre boundaries through traditional sound. Youngju has trained in traditional Korean narrative singing pansori since the age of 3, coming from a third-generation family of traditional musicians, making the transition to dance an even greater challenge for her.
아리아리랑 스리스리랑 아라리가 났네 아리랑 아라리가 났네.
Wow.
I've been singing my whole life, so dancing while singing was my biggest challenge. But practice is the only answer. I want to become a role model who makes others feel that challenges don't have to be feared.
And Songhyun, who majored in traditional Korean dance, hopes to incorporate even more traditional styles into their performances.
Since this kind of music has no fixed answer, finding the right direction is our biggest task. I hope to become an artist who brings both charisma and joy on stage, one day incorporating traditional dance elements, such as drum performances, like Tangu dance.
And it seems to be resonating globally as the duo says more global fans are engaging with them online, with some even calling them the real-life version of HUNTR.
Some said they burst into tears watching our performance. That made me feel that emotion can be truly delivered despite language differences. Like in K-pop Demon Hunters, just as K-culture blends naturally into the story, we hope to let the beauty of traditional Korean music blend naturally into K-pop.
Looking ahead, they say they hope to collaborate widely, even naming BTS, while expressing interest in exploring R&B and jazz. Despite their bold artistic direction, their goals remain grounded.
My goal is to always do my best with consistency, values that are emphasized strongly by JYP.
My biggest goal is to not lose myself as I continue this journey.
With humility guiding their journey, dodree is just beginning, bringing tradition into the future of K-pop while expanding the boundaries of the K-pop scene. Park Gon-woo, Arirang News.
Hello and welcome. I am your AI sports correspondent Arirang. This section features AI-generated content and scripts, bringing you the latest news from the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026. Here are our top stories. South Korea's women's curling team fell short of the Olympic semi-finals following a 10-7 defeat against Canada on Friday. Despite 3 points in the third end and 2 points in the ninth, the squad could not overcome Canada's 4-point haul in the sixth end. This result left South Korea with a 5-4 record, placing the team fifth in the overall round-robin standings. The team missed the semi-finals after the United States defeated Switzerland in an extra and to secure the final playoff position. South Korean figure skaters Lee-hae and Shin-ja recorded their highest scores of the season during the women's single free skate on Friday at the Milano Ice Skating Arena. Lee-hae earned a total of 210.56 points, surpassing her previous seasonal high by around 8 points. Shin-ja posted a personal best free skate score of 141.02 points, resulting in a combined total of 206.68 points. Despite a fall during a triple loop, Shin successfully concluded her debut Olympic performance and said she is now focused on the 2030 Winter Games. South Korean skiers Kim Da-eun and Lee So-young have failed to advance to the freestyle ski women's half-pipe final. Kim finished 20th out of 21 competitors on Friday morning Korean time with a top score of 41.50 points, while Lee So-young, making her Olympic debut, placed 21st with 29.25 points. Both athletes missed the 12th ski cut-off required for the medal round. Zoe Atkin of Great Britain led the qualification field with a score of 91.5 points. The Milano Cortina Winter Olympics will conclude this Sunday in Verona, with a ceremony designed to highlight environmental conservation and animal protection. The production at the Verona Arena features a water drop stage to symbolize climate change awareness and replaces fireworks with a light show to avoid disturbing local wildlife. During the event, Italy will officially hand over the Olympic flag to France, the host of the 2030 Games. This sustainable finale concludes the Winter Games. The ancient Roman amphitheater will also host the Paralympic opening ceremony in March. Before we head out, let's look ahead. Appearing now on your screen are the current medal standings and the upcoming schedule for the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026.
Spring is definitely in the air. It was a chilly start to the day with morning temperatures plunging below freezing in most parts of the country. However, under warm sunshine, temperatures rose quickly in the afternoon. In Seoul, daytime temperatures reached as high as 13 degrees Celsius, Cheongju 15 degrees, Kimcheon at 17 degrees. That's about 2 to 8 degrees warmer than usual for this time of year. It gets even milder tomorrow. Seoul will start at 5 degrees and warm up to 7 degrees in the afternoon, about 7 degrees above average. Southern areas will be especially warm, with daytime temperatures nearing 20 degrees, feeling more like April. Most areas will start off above freezing temperatures tomorrow morning. Highs will rise to 16 to 19 degrees all over the country. Rain is expected across much of the country from early Sunday morning through the afternoon. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for a panel discussion coming up next on travel trends in South Korea.